is the 5-Minute Food Entrepreneur Podcast, number 4. And we have a very exciting guest on today. It is Lara from Lara's Bites, the influencer, the amazing recipe creator that a lot of people know. We are conducting this over the magic of Instagram Live, so I'm going to add Lara on here now. It may go quiet for a few seconds, so bear that in mind. Now we're now. I believe I've added her on. Let me double check. Aha, there we have her.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm just propping my phone up here, so hopefully it doesn't drop.
Thanks a million for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So before I started this podcast recently, I put out on my Instagram that I'm looking for people to get involved, blah blah blah, and I'm not just saying this, but the amount of people that actually tagged you and or commented you in my DMs saying like, "Oh my god, I love her. How was her recipes are so quick and easy."
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing if people are tagging me, but I'll take it as a good.
No, look, we've only so much time. We're gonna kick straight into the interview. Whereabouts are you in the world?
I'm in London at the moment. I just came back like 2 days ago, so I kind of split my time between London and Cavan. So, because my husband works from here, but I work for a company out of Dublin. So, yeah, we have to kind of split our time, but it works for us for the moment. So, yeah.
Deadly. So if you don't mind me asking, your kind of full-time job, what area is that in?
So I'm in tech. I work for a trust and safety team. So yeah, anything that can go wrong, you're put through to my department basically. So
Deadly. And I suppose let's kick off. 5 questions for you. We'll kick off number 1 with that. Like a lot of people would see yourself, in terms of you have a big following on social media, on Instagram, and might think she must be doing that full time. But I was actually surprised when you had said to me that you have a job.
Yeah.
I don't know if is that a question or not, but
So I suppose, yeah, like I had never really kind of thought about going, I suppose, full time with it. Like I'm very lucky in that my job is actually, I work Tuesday to Saturday. So I always have a Sunday, Monday off. So on Mondays, everyone else is working. So I kind of normally use a Monday to catch up on like filming content, kind of batch cooking things, and then having my content for the week kind of stored up so it doesn't eat into my time then during the week. It is, I suppose, harder to juggle, especially when things get busier. But I do think as a food content creator specifically, it's kind of hard to make purely content your full-time job. So it's kind of why I've been juggling it for so long. I think other industries like fashion, beauty, those industries are so saturated by people that have really copped on to the power of like influencer marketing. Whereas when you think of food and beverage, like it could be some farmer up the road, you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's like kind of a slower, I think it's a couple of years, the food and beverage industry, I think it's getting there, but it's a couple of years behind where other industries are. So even though like the work is there and you can do it, I think I wouldn't be packing up day jobs straight away. I think I probably need another form of income, whether that is like I don't know, like maybe a cookbook or food styling, food photography. I think I'd be more inclined to go down that road and kind of have multiple streams of income, as opposed to, I don't really see, I think it's also people with a lot smaller of a following, or people with my size following, maybe have gone full-time influencing if they're in fashion and beauty, whereas you might need 1 million followers to have the same experience with like food. So yeah, so that's kind of why I'm still juggling the full-time job.
Okay, no, that's really interesting. And maybe you've touched on this already, but people that maybe would reach out to you or that are interested in the kind of, and this is really what I'm really interested in talking to you about, is the kind of content creation space. What advice would you give to someone, I suppose, that kind of just wants general advice in terms of how to grow their following or explore that world?
Yeah, I just think just start, because it was always something. I'm not really somebody who cares what like other people think, but at the same time, it's very hard to like put yourself out there. And I had it in my head that it was something I kind of wanted to do, but I suppose I just didn't have the confidence to like take that first step. And it was only when the pandemic hit, and really there wasn't much to be doing, and I was sharing my dinner on my own personal Instagram page every day. And Steve was like, "Would you not just create a food page?" And I was like, "No, no, no." And then one day he just came home and he bought me a domain name, and that was kind of the push that I needed. I was like, "Well, he's paid for the website now, so I may as well." I may as well go. But like the time to do it is yesterday. Like social media has such like exponential growth, and like, you know, people who started on Instagram 10 years ago are in a way better position than I am now. You know what I mean? So it's like the best
Yeah.
time to start is yesterday. And especially like TikTok really blew up during the pandemic, whereas I only kind of popped on TikTok last year. So it's like, you know, I think the time to start is just now, and just like don't worry about what other people think, because what other people say about you is none of your business, as everyone likes to say. So yeah, I think just go for it. If it's something that you want to do, like I reached out to other content creators when I first started out, like people that I admired, and like everyone's so helpful, and there's enough space for everyone to succeed. You just kind of need to find your little niche and just go with it and trust your gut.
Deadly. No, I think that's solid advice probably for just life in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just give it a go and
Yeah.
see how you get on.
Yeah, you can always stop doing it. Do you know what I mean? But if it's something you enjoy, you won't know until you try. So
True. So you do like obviously a lot of recipes and kind of simple recipes, stuff that people kind of want to cook for the dinner, and then more kind of I love your kind of takeouty type vibes, like
okay.
cooked at home. Yeah, fake ways. Sorry, I didn't have the word for that. And then also some kind of reviews and stuff. It's such a big world, right? Food, like from and I'm obsessed with food, from cooking to restaurants to, it's just, there's so much diversity to it. Do you have like, is there any specific area that you just like really love most about
Yeah,
food, or?
like I definitely think for me as a content creator, like I get so inspired by what other people kind of post, and I love how Instagram and TikTok has made like other cultures and other cuisines like so accessible. Like when I was a kid or a teenager, the only time I'd get to see or try out new recipes was by buying a physical cookbook, or by looking on, like, you know, the telly and seeing what was they were cooking on Saturday morning cooks or whatever. Whereas now I could go to Thailand and be like, oh my God, I love that pad Thai. Go
Mm,
home and Google, how do I make a pad Thai? And you have all this information at your fingertips. And I kind of love then seeing people put their own twist on things. So like, I really just love how we kind of now have Instagram and TikTok as like a search engine, I suppose. And it really opens up our doors to other cultures, other cuisines. And then I also really like, before I go anywhere on holiday, I'm always looking up on TikTok and Instagram,
mm.
especially like looking up where it's good to go. And I love looking at like food reviews. So I really use like social media as like my source of truth when I'm going to try out a new recipe for something I've never cooked before. Like I'd be familiar with like Indian or Italian cooking, because obviously that's where my background is. But I wouldn't have a clue when it comes to, say, Thai cooking or anything like that. So it's great to have seeing people from those countries whipping up something in their kitchen. Like, oh, that's cool. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's incredible for sure. When you when you were starting off, I'm sure. Well, I'm guessing that maybe you would have looked at, like, say, your. I don't keep meaning to go back to the follower count, because I know that's kind of a bit superficial, but like more so than that. But I'm sure the community built up, and like all those people who were DMing me there, is, for me, it's so much cooler than just the followers. But when you were kind of at the early stages and looking at that, and maybe you would think like that's what success would be, or when I get to that point of really successful or whatever. How do you view that now? Like, what is success to you in terms of doing your content?
I definitely think it's changed since I started out. Like, I think obviously when you're first starting out, like you want to build a bit of credibility. And initially that goal was that 10K, because that meant you could share links and all that kind of stuff. That's all changed. But that was my like initial goal. And I think, yeah, like if somebody's coming onto your page and they see that you have like 200 followers versus 200,000, you're probably more likely to convert a follower when you have a bigger following, because you have more, it looks like you're more credible, even
Mm,
though you might not. But so initially I definitely was caught up in like a numbers game, but then it was like, okay, I got to 10,000, and then it's like the goalpost is always pushing out and out and out, and then it's like it's never enough. You feel like,
yeah.
whereas now I got really lucky in terms of like got a couple of like viral reels, But I've actually noticed over time, I actually would rather less viral reels and have a more engaged audience. Like, obviously, it's great exposure to reach so many people with like a reel that reaches 1 million people. But if they're only following you for that one specific recipe and that doesn't convert into having a relationship with them and like cultivating that audience, it means nothing because, the bigger your follower count is, and then if you have a less engaged
Yeah.
audience, you're
Yeah.
kind of sitting in the tumbleweeds. You're like, is anybody seeing this? Am I just
Yeah.
posting to the cyberspace? So definitely, I think it's changed over time. I think actually success for me online is actually having an engaged audience. And yes, it was great to get up to that 10K mark initially, to like have that, what I deemed as like credibility. But actually now I'm like, I would much rather have less viral posts and just have a more consistently engaged audience. I think that's really important as well.
Very good, very interesting. And I will finish up on this one, Lara, and I really appreciate your time. What is what's your long-term goal, or not long-term goal, but what do you have? Like, are you one of those types of people? Yeah, your 5-year plan. Are you one of those people that kind of goal orientated?
Yeah, like I suppose like this kind of just started off as a hobby, so I never really had like a set plan with it. But I think like, yeah, like at the minute I'm obviously still working my full-time job, and I actually really enjoy doing both, to be honest, now while I still have time. I don't know, like I actually dipped my toe into live television there 2 weeks
I
ago,
see.
and I really enjoyed that like way more than I thought I would. Like I definitely like thrived off like the live telly element. So I'd love to maybe do some more of that. I actually think I'd love to maybe like upskill myself, maybe do some like food photography courses and things like that. I definitely want to also, I suppose, increase my presence on TikTok. I just kind of really like the way the content is going over there. It's definitely more relaxed. I find Instagram can be sometimes quite staged, and like you're kind of only, it's very curated and you have to style things nicely, and that kind of translates well on Instagram. Whereas I like the whole rawness of TikTok, and like somebody would tune in if I'm eating a Chinese, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that kind of stuff
Yeah.
seems to get a lot of traction on TikTok. So I kind of would love to do some more of that. And yeah, definitely want to bring in a bit more travel stuff maybe as well. Like I love going on holidays and I love eating new cuisines and stuff. So yeah, I think ultimately what I'd like to do, I'd like to do more like television and like media as opposed to just social media, like media in general. I'd like to increase like my media presence, and yeah, maybe dip my toe, try and grow my TikTok, and get into some more travel stuff as well.
Exciting. Very good, Lara. I really appreciate your time. I know you have to get back to work. We've only so much time with you, but
Yep.
I really
Right
appreciate
here,
you hopping on.
10-minute
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to change the name for sure. Thanks a million, Lara. I really appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.